Yuma Daf Chav Beis. Today's email comes from A. Lightman from Lakewood. First of all, I must thank the Chaver that made a big recent publicity push for your shir. To be honest, I was one of those very disinclined to learn Daf Yomi. I told myself various reasons, among them, that I like to learn more in depth with Gemara Rashi Tosfos. Well, you share the first day of Yuma when you knock down with excuses not to learn the Daf, convinced me to give it a try and I'm hooked. Here we are, 20 Daf in and I haven't missed a day. I've not given up my regular limud, I've just added Daf Yomi and squeezed it into my schedule. As I've heard in some other emails, learning the Daf actually makes you more time efficient and you can find more time. The other reason I'm writing is about the ArtScroll offer, and he goes on to say other things. Yours truly, A. Lightman, Lakewood, New Jersey. Thank you. Yuma Daf Chav Beis. We're starting the second Perek Barishayna. To start out with, the Bezdin imagined that no one is going to come to do Trumas Hadeshin to remove some of the ashes every morning from the Mizbeach because it's a night avodah, so it's not that chashav, or because people are not interested in getting up that early. So the Masakin, that whoever comes, they should have a race up the ramp of the Mizbeach. But then they saw that it could come to a sakana, the famous story that one pushed the other one off the Mizbeach and he broke his leg. So the Masakin, instead of running up the ramp, they'll do a lottery. And this is the first lottery of the 4 lotteries. Since there was a lottery, so people stopped coming early to the Beis HaMikdash. They figured they're not going to win anyways. So they upped the stakes. They said that whoever is Zoicha in this lottery will not only get to do Trumas Hadeshin, he'll also be able to set up the wood on top of the Mizbeach and also be makriv of 2 pieces of wood. And people started coming. Now when the Mishnah says that there was a race, the race was up until 4 amas before the end of the ramp. Rav Papa had a suffix. Does that mean 4 amas away from the end of the ramp, including the Yisoid and the Soivev, which are 2 amas? In other words, 4 amas, or not including the Yisoid and the Soivev, and therefore you have to distance yourself 6 amas from the end of the ramp. What happens if there's a tie in the race? So what they do is, they put everybody in a circle, and everybody sticks out 1 finger or 2 fingers, they only count 1. The kohen in the middle takes off one of the mitznefes, one of the hats, and he just grabs a random number, and he starts counting the kohanim until he's done. The last finger wins. The reason why he counts fingers and not people, like Shaul HaMelech, he counted his soldiers, each one gave a piece of shard, and the first war, the second war, each one put in a sheep, because there's an Isser, there's a lav in the Torah, maybe even 2 Yisurim, to count people as, like it says in the Pasuk, Lo Yimad Velo Yisafer. You're not allowed to count Jews. If a person was appointed to be in charge of the tzibur, he has a bracha that right away he becomes wealthy. The Gemara tells us the Shaul was over on one avera. He kept a gag alive. And on that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Nichamti kim lachti Shaul melech. I feel bad, I made him a king. And for that, he lost his life and he lost his entire kingdom. Why did Shaul sin? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him kill every single one? He made a kavachomer. He said, if it egla harufa, one person dies, and we don't know what city he belongs to, we kill a calf, etc. So certainly, they shouldn't kill random animals, you shouldn't kill minors that never sinned. And a baskel came out from Shemayim and said, Al tiyeh tzadik har, but don't try to be too frum. When Shaul himself told Doeg, go kill all the kohanim of Ir Noiva kohanim, so then a baskel came out and said the opposite. Al tiyeh rasha harbe. Why are you killing these innocent people? Before he was even chayta with the sin of Noiv Ir kohanim, he already lost his kingdom because Noiv Ir kohanim is not considered one of the chataim. David, on the other hand, had 2 chataim, and he wasn't punished with death, and he didn't lose his kingdom. He was chayta with Uriah, he sent Bathsheba's husband out to war, and he counted Klai Yisrael when he wasn't supposed to count. But he didn't lose his life, and he didn't lose his malchus. However, he was punished that 70,000 Yidden died because of his counting, but not his own physical guf. For Bathsheba, he did get punished. He was punished 4 times. The child he had with Bathsheba died. Amnon died. Amnon was Ma'anis Tamar, and Avshalom, his own son, rebelled against him and died. His guf also had a einish, that he had saras for 6 months, and the Sanhedrin went away from him. He didn't have Ruach HaKodesh. There's a machlokes whether or not David accepted Lashon Hara when Tziva came. Tziva was a slave. He came and he said that Avshalom rebelled against David HaMelech, and then David HaMelech took Avshalom's Yerusha and divided between Tziva and Avshalom. He didn't know who to trust, Avshalom or Tziva. So Shmuel says David HaMelech was never Mekabel Lashon Hara. He saw on Avshalom different signs that he's rebelling, but according to Rav, that he did accept Lashon Hara. So he was in fact punished, Midah Keneged Midah, that his kingdom, Shlomo HaMelech's son, in other words, David HaMelech's grandson, he lost half of his kingdom and went to the slave. It went half to Rechavam and half to the slave Yeravam. The Torah says, Ben Shana L'Malchai, the Navi says, Shaul was like a year old, but he wasn't a year old when he was a king. It means that he didn't have a chait, he never sinned like a 1-year-old. Rav Nachman asked, maybe it means that he's like a 1-year-old, he has a dirty diaper, he has tzaya, tit, and he was punished that he had terrible nightmares. So Rav Nachman said, Ne'esi lochem atzmi Shaul ben Kish, I feel bad, I have charata, to the bones of Shaul. He had nightmares. So he realized he didn't say it b'kavadik, so he said, he added the words Melech Yisrael, and then it was over. Rav Shimon Yitzchak says, in order to be a parnas, to be in charge, to be appointed on Klal Yisrael, you need a kupa shel tzrasim, you need a barrel of worms. In other words, you have to be able to look backwards and see that you don't come from such great yichos, that if a person has gaiva, he'll know where he comes from. That's why Shaul's kingdom never lasted, because he didn't have this kupa of shratzim. The reason why he was punished and he lost his kingdom is because he was moichel on his own kavod. He was a king all the way in the beginning of his kingdom. Those who rebelled against him, he had the opportunity to kill them, and he said, no, let's forgive them. Have a wonderful day.